All right, yesterday we looked at the reality of adult life. We looked at how to calculate our net monthly income. And today we're going to actually look at what does adult life actually cost. So our learning target, I can analyze common monthly expenses and see how quickly income is reduced by basic living costs. So we're going to go back to our $4,000 per month example. And I'm going to propose the question, is $4,000 per month a lot of money? I would ask you guys who thinks yes, who thinks no in class, and then also what could $4,000 buy? Have you think about that? Like, what can $4,000 buy? It can be anything. There's no right or wrong right now. What can $4,000 buy? What is something that you could spend $4,000 on right now? So we talked about this word yesterday, expenses, without really defining it. But expenses is money that's spent on goods and services. So this can be fixed, such as rent and insurance. What I mean by that is it's the same every month. So like if you have rent, it's $850 every month or $1,500 every month. It's not $1,500 this month and $600 next month. It's fixed. Or you can have variables, groceries. You may spend $125 on groceries this week and $45 on groceries the next week. Also, you may go see 3 movies this month and go see no movies next month. So those would be considered variable expenses. So things that are fixed versus things that are variable. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. So essential monthly expenses. We have well, I think I wanted to. Yeah, just gonna have y'all try these out first. But some essential monthly expenses. I'll see if y'all can figure out a few that are essential, meaning you have to have. Like you are an adult, you're not living with your parents. Okay, so what do you have to have? Probably housing. Yes. With housing, you have utilities. When you rent or buy, those are things like electricity, which you have to have, um, gas and water and trash or whatever. Some places have like, uh, yeah. Anyways, um, transportation, right? If you have a job, you need to be able to get to and from. Most of the time, unless you're living in some place that's relatively close to where you work, you're going to need to have a car, which means that you need to insure that car to pay for you to at least, if you hit somebody and it's your fault, to be able to pay for their vehicle, or you can be sued. And you need to be able to put gas in your car so you can drive to and from work. Um, if you live close enough to have a bike or walk, then great, but there's not a lot of places like that. So most people this applies to. And then food, right? Essential, meaning you have to have it. Oh, by the way, let's go back up here. So which one of these do you think is the most expensive? And which one can you not really avoid? So I'll tell you right now, for the most part, it doesn't all, it's every circumstance is different, but most of the time, your housing is going to be the most expensive, right? Um, Cars may cost $30,000 and $40,000, $60,000, $100,000. Well, if a car costs $40,000, houses cost $350,000, $500,000, half a million, right? So housing is way more expensive, and that includes even renting, not just buying. Like renting an apartment or renting a house is going to be way more expensive. Um, which one can you not? Which expense can you not avoid? Well, you can't really avoid. I mean, I guess you can avoid transportation if you live close enough to your job, and you can bike to work or take an Uber. But even that's expensive. Or if you have a bus, like live near a bus station or something like that. But even then, you're still paying it. Not as much as probably this, but either way. So, speaking of expenses, I wanted to show you guys a couple things real quick. The average rent for a 1 bedroom apartment in the United States is $1,575 a month. Okay, so the average. is 1,000. So I want y'all to write these all on your day two notes where it says realistic moving costs. We're going to use the national average. Now, obviously, things in Texas are not necessarily the same cost as they are in like California or maybe New York City or maybe in Montana or anywhere else. So the location actually does matter because the cost of living is higher in places and lower in other places. But this is a national U.S. average. So the entire United States, $1,575. And this is a one-bedroom apartment, so very small. Um, maybe about the size of my closet back there. So we're going to use that. The average monthly mortgage payment for a three-bedroom, two-bath home in the U.S. can vary. Um, like I said a second ago, from location. You also have something called loan type, which we won't really get into a whole lot. And obviously, when you have a mortgage, you actually pay interest on that mortgage and interest rates, depending on what they are right now. Right now, the interest rates are about double of what they were whenever I was whenever I bought my house in 2018. And I actually just did this math. And if I had the same loan I did today at the interest rate today, I would be paying $600 or no, $500 more a month for the same house just with double the interest rate. $600 more a month. Okay, so that affects things. So we have a range here. 2,300 to 2,800. The national average monthly mortgage payment for a new mortgage with a three-bedroom, two-bath, which can be small. It doesn't necessarily have to be small. Like you can have three-bedroom, two-baths home that are like 2,500 square feet. You can also have them that are about 1,500 square feet. It really just kind of depends. But the national average is around 2317. So we're going to go with that. Okay. And I have these two pictures down here. Hopefully you can see them. But I try to get two pictures. These were actually, this is from last year, but I pulled some houses that were for sale on the day that I came up with this slide. And I looked in Fort Worth and I found this house. So this is in Fort Worth and this is in California. And when I say varies on factors like location, look at these two homes, okay, and look at the prices. They're both three-bedroom, two-bath homes, but one of them probably looks a little more like maybe a little better quality, maybe. Like this one has brick, Austin stone. This one has no brick, and brick matters because it's more durable, especially for things like storms and whatnot. So, once again, this home in California more expensive than the one in Fort Worth. All right, moving on to utilities. The average monthly utilities cost, which include things like electricity, water, gas, cable, and internet, streaming services, and cell phone services, may vary significantly by state and region. However, the monthly cost for utilities in the U.S. is around $600 a month. Okay, I might not always put my cell phone with my utilities. I would really actually consider utilities electricity, water, gas, and I would probably have cable and internet, although that can be included in utilities. But it's really, if you're kind of budgeting, you can kind of lump that all together. Now, I will say we did talk about fixed versus variable, and your electricity is well. Let me ask y'all, what do y'all think that is? If that's fixed or variable? And if it's variable, that means that it varies, right? So electricity and water vary based on how much you use, and also sometimes the time of year and the time of day, things like that. Especially with like electricity. Um, Also, location where you live can affect that as well. So these would be considered variable expenses, while cell phone is a fixed expense. Streaming service is a fixed expense. Cable and internet is a fixed expense. Now, if you go and you know, buy a game or a movie or something like that, obviously it's going to add more for that month or whatever. But the average monthly cost of a new car. So we're going to move on to vehicles now. So cars has three parts. We have the vehicle itself, the cost for gas, and the cost for insurance. So the average monthly cost of a new car is $742. and the average monthly cost for a reliable used car is $525. I would never spend that money. It's probably why I don't buy new cars. But the average cost of full coverage auto insurance is about $223 per month. So you have to insure your vehicle, and if you do have a new vehicle, you have to get full coverage, which means you have to have the you can't just have liability. So you have to be able to cover your car that's you're paying off with the car note. Um, and then the average monthly cost for gas is going to range, obviously, based on different things like how far you commute, things like that. Um, but is 150 a month. These are the figures that we're going to use. All right, now let's look at food. The average monthly cost of food for one person in the U.S. typically ranges from $300 to $500 per month. I don't know what I have there. Let's see. So maybe just put 400. I think I have it somewhere. So to summarize, all of these examples are common and essential monthly expenses. A monthly expense is a cost you must pay every month. These expenses are often reoccurring and can include things like bills or subscriptions. So, rent or mortgage? Let's see. Are we on? No, okay. So this is not part of your notes, I guess. Rent or mortgage, the amount you pay for your home. So that is common monthly expenses. Utility, the cost of electricity, gas, water, heating, internet, cable, phone, and streaming services. That's not essential. You don't need a streaming service, but that's just thrown in there with utilities. Groceries, money spent on food and household supplies, like toilet paper, even and toothpaste. Transportation, monthly payments for car, gas, or public transportation costs. And insurance, payments for health, car, or home insurance. Other than streaming services, these expenses are essential. So we're going to look at this 22-year-old, you at 22-year-old with a college degree, going back to our $4,000 net monthly income. So we have $4,000 available every month, and we're going to use these numbers to actually kind of compute what's today's lesson over? What does adult life actually cost? Okay, keep in mind we're using the monthly average. So the net monthly income is $4,000. The average apartment, we're going to use that and not the house, and that's just a one-bedroom apartment. Okay, it's one-bedroom apartment. That's going to be taken out of there. Average utilities, we're assuming we're going to be spending that. Average used car payment, average car insurance, average low end for gas, average low end for groceries. So all in all, $577. So, and then also with food, you need to consider, does that include eating out? And if you spend $15 eating out 3 times a week, that's $45 per week. And 45 times 4 weeks is 180 per month. So it's easier to control things like eating out versus rent, because eating out is obviously more expensive than buying groceries and eating at home. So some of these things you can control, right? First of all, you do need a reliable vehicle, but maybe you can find one where you don't have to spend that much. So the idea is, looking at this $577, we asked initially, is $4,000 seem like a lot of money? Well, as an adult, if you have these things to pay for, does $577 seem like a lot of money to last you all month? And that's not for things that you like want to buy or want to do. There's nothing on here that says like savings, for instance. There's nothing on here that says stuff for me, stuff that I want. Like traveling, anything like that. That's just $577 left over. If you want to go on a date, then subtract, $100 from that or more. So, or whatever it is you want to do. So is 577 a lot or little? What if something breaks? What if you have student loans? Remember, we considered we didn't have the student loans on here, and we said that with that income, 4,000, we have student loans. So we haven't even considered that. What if you want to save or travel? Now we're going to do the same thing with the $2,400 income. So 22 years old without a college degree, same stuff. Okay, same available expenses. What's the issue with this? We're broke. Okay, we don't have any money. Like, we're negative in the hole every single month. Once again, I'm not advocating for a college degree as being better than not having one. But realistically, at 22 years old, those with and without a college degree, their income at that age is substantially more than without one. That's not like, I have several family members that never even went to college and then are making 4 times as more than me. So, anyways, once again, said this yesterday, making money is easy. Managing is not necessarily easy, but it's easier than managing the money. So did 4,000 feel like a lot before we had expenses? Maybe. But which expense was higher than we expected? So ask that. What expense did you think was higher on the national average? Do you think someone making $60,000, or could someone making $60,000 still struggle? And why might they struggle? What about things like debt, spending habits, right? I mean, if you're living in these national averages, within these national average expenses, you don't really have a lot of room for spending habits. I mean, you're kind of locked into some of those things. If you are, like, you're kind of locked into a car payment, you're locked into a rent once you like sign the lease and all that stuff. Um, but also, some ways that you can some ways that you can manage this is by, you know, um, doing things that help with your lifestyle, with also considering location, because, like I said earlier, the cost of living is different from place to place, from state to state. So tomorrow, well, if money disappears this fast, how do adults stay in control? Tomorrow we are going to build a plan and figure it out.